We talked about the mistakes you're making. Now let's build up good test prep habits. That's the topic of today's video on GMAT GRE Test Preparation at MBA Protocol. Welcome back. I am Angela Guido, the founder of MBA Protocol. I'm a career coach. I'm an MBA coach. I spent 7 years helping people tackle the beastly GMAT exam. And so we understand how important it is to do well on those tests if you're applying to business school, which is why you're in the middle of GMAT GRE week. We're publishing 5 videos that are all about your test preparation process, that are about helping you get your best possible score for you, whatever that may be, wherever you're starting from. Test prep companies have a lot of content. They have a lot of bells and whistles. They even have AI-driven stuff now. But in our experience, one thing that's hard to find is genuinely great teachers and tutors. They're pretty scarce because really great teachers and tutors, some of them like teaching test prep and kind of hang around the test prep universe, but most great teachers and tutors will spend a little bit of time on test prep and then they'll move on to something else, because once you crack the code, you know, it's no longer challenging. For great minds, you need new challenges. Well, Brian Birdwell, a member of the MBA Protocol team, is one of those rare individuals who both has gone deep and wide on test prep and has spent 20 years helping people prepare for those tests. And he's also someone who's tried a bunch of new stuff. So he's an MBA coach. He's also working on an AI-driven tool to help you prepare for the GRE. Who knows if it'll be ready by the time we make this video. Whenever it's ready, if we're going to make it available to people, we will link it in the description below. But in any event, he's your guy. He's the guy who knows how to help you prepare for the test, no matter how good your study habits are, no matter how low executive function you have, no matter how much you struggle with discipline and self-awareness and figuring out what's going well in your study process and what's not. Brian can help you move the needle. Today he's going to tell you about the 5 most important habits you need to cultivate on your test prep journey to maximize your test score.
Here we are again, and today we're talking about 5 successful habits for your GMAT or GRE prep. I'm Brian Birdwell, and 20 years ago or so, more than 20 years ago, I scored in the 99th percentile on the LSAT, the GRE, and the GMAT, and my life took an unexpected turn into teaching test prep for the next 2 decades. I'm here to share my wisdom with you, and I share my wisdom from years of test prep as an admissions consultant, and I lead a lot of test huddles and test prep sessions for us. If you want some more information on how to work together, head on over to mbaprotocol.com/join for more information. So the first habit that will help your test prep succeed is to approach training for this test as a habit in itself. And what I mean by that is to adopt the perspective that what you are trying to do is change your behavior, not trying to learn stuff. There's a few things to learn, but not as much as you might think. You're really trying to develop habits that succeed when you repeat them over and over and over and over again, regardless of success. A quick example of this would be when you see an NBA basketball player shoot a free throw, or when you see a professional tennis player hit their serve. They do the same thing every time. They bounce the ball 3 times, they bend their knees, they toss it. And they do this so that they remove as much of the emotional dynamic and the other variables from the moment as they possibly can. They try to recreate the same experience over and over and over again. And this is what you're trying to do on every individual problem that you work and on every individual practice test that you take. You are trying to approach them all the exact same way over and over and over and over again. So this is about acquiring habits, a habit of understanding the problem, a habit of coming up with a plan, a habit of solving the problem correctly and without error. So that's the first tip. Approach this as if you are trying to acquire habits. I'm sure you've tried to change habits. I'm sure you've tried to grow new habits or add new habits, more healthful habits for better living in your own life. It's difficult and it takes constant attention. So approach this as if you are trying to acquire habits. Number 2, show your work. And it's related to what we were just talking about, but it's important that you don't always seek shortcuts when you're doing this. The road to you-know-where is paved with the desire for shortcuts, especially on the quantitative. You don't need to go faster right now. You don't need to look for these kinds of shortcuts. You need to develop reliable, error-free habits. And the easiest way to do that is to make yourself show your work. Every line on your scratch paper, no skipping steps until you are 100% error-free. And on the day that you are 100% error-free, then you can start eliminating steps until you begin to make errors again, and then you've got to add those steps back in. Number 3, track your work. Use an error log. Error logs are very useful in the long arc of your prep, but it's important that you use the right kind of error log. Knowing that you're making errors in geometry or that you're making errors in algebra, that's great, but your error log needs to be better than this. Your error log needs to contain information like, what did you actually do wrong? There's a difference between not knowing what to do, for example, and making an error when you do know what to do. Your error log should help you distinguish between these different errors, between these different issues. Because if you don't know what to do, then you need to study. You can study for that. You can watch videos, you can read books, you can learn the formula that you forgot. But if you knew what to do and you made a mistake, then you have to get more interested in where did that mistake enter the process? How did that occur? And you have to remove that mistake because you have the requisite knowledge, but your behavior is preventing you from getting the point for that particular problem. So your error log should contain columns and spaces where you can enter this kind of information and examine patterns later, not just from a content perspective of, oh, algebra, word problems, so forth and so on. The 4th habit you can begin developing now for better test prep success is to practice the right amount. It's a Goldilocks problem, and you have to get interested in that problem. Most of us are aware when we're practicing too little. You have to practice pretty much daily is the issue. A lot of us are working really long hours, tough jobs. We're ambitious people after all. We're going to business school, aren't we? But you can't just practice for this test on the weekends. You have to practice for this test during the week as well because it's about habit acquisition. And you can't just have good habits on the weekends and have terrible habits during the week. So even if you're only getting in an hour a day or 30 minutes a day, if it's a light day, you have to get in a daily look at this test in order to build the habits that you need over time. And hopefully not a very long time. If you do things right, your test prep journey should be shorter. We don't want you to do this thing for a year or a year and a half. Let's keep it down, eh? So practice the right amount, not too little and not too much either. I've met many clients over the years, many students who want to practice 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, 8 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. That's too much, especially if you're trying to acquire new habits. With this frame of mind that you're after habit acquisition, you would realize that habits degrade over that much time. And at the end of a 6-hour session, you are actually actively practicing getting worse at the test because your habits have degraded to the point that they're not useful anymore. So sit down, practice with good attention and strong intention to develop habits, and then be done. This can be done in 2 to 3 hours. 3 hours is a long day on a weekend, maybe 4 maximum. I've never seen someone study for more than 4 hours in a useful or productive way for this test, and that's really pushing it. 90 minutes can be great. So not too much and not too little. The 5th thing that you can do to improve your test prep right away is use your practice tests effectively. I've talked about this before in a video about the biggest mistakes that you're making in your test prep. So check that out if you want a little bit more information. But you're not getting enough value out of your practice tests. They're precious resources. There are very few useful practice tests in existence. So get good value out of them. Each practice test should be conducted like an experiment. And in an experiment, you want to manipulate variables, but not too many variables because you want to know if it's working. So you want to manipulate a couple of variables. Am I breathing at the right time? Am I using good scratch paper techniques? Am I using new techniques for solving the problems? Am I actually solving the problems in the organized way that I set out to? Or am I panicking and everything's falling apart and I'm just winging it throughout the test? These are good questions to ask. So conduct each practice test like an experiment so that you get valuable information back from it. Make a hypothesis. I think these 3 things will affect my test today. I think paying attention to my process on verbal and little things, perhaps covering up the answer choices, plugging in numbers when I can. Make 3 intentions, a hypothesis that you think these things will make an impact, and then review your practice test thoroughly to get information and feedback about the habits and variables that you're trying to manipulate to see if they're actually working for you. Most people just take a practice test, they look at the score, they're disappointed, they take another practice test, they look at the score, and it's a vicious cycle. Escape that cycle and get good value out of your practice test. Now, I want to tell you one meta habit that you can have here, and that is to actually try to have fun with these tests. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds really crazy. But if you can have a little bit of fun with these tests, the record is clear. The people who can find the fun in this test do better. I know. It's a chicken and egg problem. They find it fun, so they're better at it. They're not better at it because they find it fun. Who knows? Just do the experiment for me. Let us know in the comments. Are you able to have fun with this test, even a little bit? And when you are you better at it? There's an interesting study that said that just smiling while you read a reading comp passage will make you a more attentive reader. It will make you look crazy while you study in the coffee shop, but it might actually help your reading comprehension. Let us know. Try it out. Smile while you read and see if you pay better attention.
Number 4 was my favorite. Just love that guy. Brian and I did this really long conversation about Brian, about him, and about like our journey together as 2 people dedicated to MBAs and helping them achieve their dreams. We're going to put that up on our on one of our channels very soon. So be sure that you're subscribed and hit the bell so that you don't miss any of our amazing MBA content, and especially MBA week. We've got 3 more big videos coming your way this week. But I just want to remind you that if you're interested in like getting help with your test prep journey and you want Brian to be your sort of personal tutor, free group coaching with Brian is included in all of our programs. Like, you get access to Brian to help you find your way on your test prep journey. So request a call to talk with us about your MBA application process. If you're considering hiring a consultant or a coach, we might be the right team for you. Either way, I'll see you right here tomorrow on GMAT GRE Week at MBA Protocol.